Good day all. Today I am going to teach you a lesson from your Vistas, lesson number 6 on the face of it by Susan Hill. Lesson is something for all of us. Have you heard about the proverb, beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder? The way we look at the things is what it feels to us. Yes, sometimes when we look at ourselves in the mirror, we feel we are ugly because we are seeing it from our point of view. But the same face looks the best, the most beautiful one to the eyes of the one who created you, God, and also the God on earth, your mother. Don't you think so? So, this particular lesson is something just like that. This is a play, a drama kind of a setup made. It is happening in the garden of Mr. Lamb, who has lost his leg in a war, and one of his leg is a tin leg. This play underlines the theme beauty is skin deep. Beauty is what your heart is, not the physical beauty but the inner beauty, what the author tries to tell us. It emphasizes the truth that beauty, ugliness, good, bad, all these contradictions coexist in nature. It is the onlooker that every object finds its meaning and significance. So, a person with disabilities should overcome them all instead of feeling separated from the world. Every one of us are disabled in some or the other way. That's how I feel. Yes or no, we all think that we are not capable of doing certain things. But the truth is, we haven't tried it. So, this particular lesson is a very beautifully written one, which tells us that beauty is what we try to put in a work or the way we look at it. So, in this particular lesson, there are two main characters, Mr. Lamb and Derry, a young boy of 14. So, Mr. Lamb lives alone in a garden. He's an old man, as I told you, he's an old man with a tin leg. He lives in a very big house and he has got lots and lots of books in his house. He overcomes his loneliness by keeping himself busy reading books, listening to the sounds of the garden, and talking to the people whoever happen to cross by or whoever come into his garden. He keeps the gate of his garden always open. He looks into the garden as his own child. He takes care of it so well. He has got orchards, he has got many flowering plants, many fruits in his garden. Derry, as I told you, is an young boy of 14. He has got his face burnt because of an accident by an acid. He avoids people because they stare at him. They make him feel that he looks ugly. He thinks people are afraid of his horrible looking face. When he passes by Mr. Lamb's garden, he feels to get inside and steal some apples for himself. He thinks that nobody is in there and he slowly sneaks into it. He scales the boundary wall and jumps into the garden. But when he comes closer, suddenly someone calls him from the back and he gets startled. It is Mr. Lamb who was trying to water his garden. Derry is startled. He thinks that even Mr. Lamb would look at him in a different way as others do. And now he has stealthily entered the garden, so this might make him look more like of an ugly thief. Derry wants to run away from there. But Lamb tells him not to be afraid of anything. As we already know in the starting, Dr. Lamb or the Mr. Lamb, he loves children a lot and he loves anyone entering into the garden and talks to him. Derry tells him that he is not afraid of anyone. So Derry says that he is not afraid of anyone. It is the people who are afraid of him because of his ugly looking face. The reason that his face is burnt and people think that is an ugly one and that no one can ever like him was Derry's problem. He thinks Lamb was also looking at his ugly side of it. Lamb suspects that Derry's face might have got burnt due to a fire, and that's why he was looking at his face very keenly. When Derry asked him, "Are you also afraid of me, Mr. Lamb?" Lamb lets out his doubt, saying that no, I was just wondering how you got burnt. And Derry tells him it's not because of fire, but it's because of an acid. He regrets that it won't be ever be different, and he can never ever look beautiful like other children. Mr. Lamb had a wheat garden too. He asks Derry what it is. Derry says that all rubbish overgrown weeds are grown there. But Lamb says it makes no difference between a flowering plant and a weed. Both are living, growing plants, and that's how he sees his life too. Bad or good go side by side. Up or low go side by side. It is a part of life. It only matters how you take it. He means to say that he finds no difference between Derry and other children because children are always beautiful and innocent by heart, and that heart is what matters to Mr. Lamb. Mr. Lamb discloses his disability, that he is a lame person and one of his legs is a thin leg. And he also tells that children have even given him a pet name called Lamey Lamb, and he finds happiness in it because at least children come down there and say these words to him, and he feels happy in his loneliness. They are not at all afraid of Lamb because Lamb is not afraid of these children making fun of them. Mr. Lamb reminds Derry of a fairy tale, Beauty and the Beast. Derry also knows the story. He says a princess loves a beast. When she kisses him, he turns into a handsome prince. Derry also understands the theme of the story. Ugliness is skin deep. A man is not what he looks alike, but what he really is. Handsome is that handsome does, but what a handsome person can do depends upon his heart. A work can be beautiful if you do it beautifully, not because you look beautiful. So over here, this story was actually told to Derry to inspire him. But Derry was such a pessimist kind of a child who only thinks the ugly side of it. He starts arguing with Mr. Lamb. This happens only in stories where a princess kisses a beast and the beast becomes a handsome prince. Whereas my mother also kisses me only onto the side where I am not burnt. So this shows that stories might be beautiful but not the real life. Mr. Lamb, when he heard this, he just smiled. He said that Derry's brain has been corrupted. He keeps listening to people who see only the ugly side of the face. He never looks at his mother's eyes, who kisses him on the beautiful side, saying that I look only the beauty in your face and I am not bothered about the ugly side. If the mother would have kissed on the acid face, maybe you will start thinking that she is sympathizing me. Think in a positive way, Mr. Lamb tells to Derry, but Derry is no way in hearing to what Mr. Lamb is trying to tell him. Lamb again gives him an example of a hive of bees which is hovering over the garden. He says people look at the bees in two different ways. When the Like, he says that people have two different kinds of thinking. Like, when they hear the bees making sounds, they call it as a buzz, a very irritating sound to the ears. But for a person like Mr. Lamb, who is alone, who is fighting with his loneliness, the sound of the bees seems to be like a humming of a song. So it all the difference of attitude, how you look at a problem, or if you find it not a problem at all. Derry does not like people who stare at his face. He does not go even near them. So he tries to avoid everyone who ever looks at him in a different way. But Mr. Lamb does not think keeping aloof can help anybody. Aloof means being alone without mingling with people around. He tells Derry a story about a man. He was always afraid that he would be run over or he might get infection or would meet with some accident. A person who is always afraid of something going on around. They feel like they'll fall, they'll get hurt, they may not go to the exam properly, they may not write properly. All the pessimistic kind, negative kind of a thinking. He was talking about a man. He told Derry a story about a man. So he locked himself in a room, but he was not safe. A picture fell off on his head from the wall and he died. So Mr. Lamb told Derry that if we lock ourselves, it is of no help to us. Whatever has to happen will happen. It is of how we are going to face a problem. A problem seems a problem only if we look at it as a problem. Yes? So over here, Mr. Lamb was trying to explain to Derry about how to take life easily. Now Derry started to say, it's already late, now I have to go home and my mother will shout at me because she does not like anyone meeting me or me meeting anyone else, because she is very, very angry or she is very sad that if someone makes fun of me, I will become very, very agitated. I'll become very hurt. So she doesn't want me to come outside. But today I came out into the garden and I have to hear all this. So he was little irritated by Mr. Lamb. At the same time, he actually started liking Lamb because no one spoke to him for such a long time till now. Derry tells Lamb that he had overheard some women say that people with similar deformities should live together. He says that maybe we both have some disabilities, that is why we are going well with each other. And he also heard some women speaking about this. The blind should live with the blind, the ugly should live with the ugly, and the lame should with the lame. Mr. Lamb thinks it is very odd. He is like, whoever told you this are stupid. Everything is different. Everything is the same. The world is full of varieties. And variety is the spice of life. We should always meet with the opposite nature kind of a person to know what we are, to develop some good things or develop something which we shouldn't. Yes, so when we meet an opposite kind of a person, for example, you're very silent, you meet a talkative person, you will know when to mingle with whom and how to talk and how to go along with it. You cannot make friendship with a person who is equally calm as you, and you will never ever know what a speech can do in life. So over here, Derry is surprised at how Lamb can be so positive towards life. Lamb says that he does so by listening, watching and thinking. He doesn't just rely about with others' thoughts. Earlier, Lamb asked Derry to help him to get some ripe crab apples of the trees. Now Derry wants to help him. In the starting, he didn't even try to listen to what Lamb was saying about his looks. Now he felt confident. He tells Lamb that with only one whole leg, he could fall off a ladder and die. And what is he trying to do with himself? So he also started to make fun of Lamb and try to get ease. He said, I will help you, Mr. Lamb. Please get down from the ladder. He was trying to pluck some apples out there. Derry says that his mother would be worried and he has to go back home. And he promises Mr. Lamb that he will come back and help So Derry was worried that his mother would be looking out for him. She would want to know where he is, so he must run home. He promises to Mr. Lamb that he will definitely come back. Now again, Mr. Lamb is left alone. He starts liking this boy a lot. He says all those who come to promise to come back again, they never show up. So he is waiting to see Derry back. Derry tells his mother that he wants to go back and meet Mr. Lamb. His mother warns him because she does not want her child to get hurt in any other way. But Derry tells that Lamb is a wonderful man and he actually boosts him up in many other ways. He also describes his house that Mr. Lamb lives in a very huge house with no curtains and has a very big garden. Finally, the mother, she allows him to go and meet Mr. Lamb. Mr. Lamb had told him things that nobody had ever told him. So Derry liked him a lot because in such a big conversation with him, he never ever heard any negative word against him. Only positivity everywhere. Those things made Derry like Mr. Lamb. He ran back into the garden shouting, "Mr. Lamb, I am back. I'm going to be with you now." And what he sees? He sees Mr. Lamb, who was trying to pluck those crab apples, standing on the ladder, slips and falls. And he's killed and he is dead out there. Derry starts crying, seeing the person lying in front of him dead, the one who made him to look life in a different way. So everything in our life happens for a reason. Every person whom we meet happens for a reason. Never ever take anything light because every single thing in our life teaches us a lesson, and that lesson will always be good for us. Have a safe stay at home and be happy always and keep smiling and be positive. Thank you.